Okay, we will call the meeting to order.
So we call the meeting
to
order. We'll start with the reading the approval of the minutes for our December 19th, 2024 meeting.
No,
No, this one, that was last December.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yep. So I need a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And on to the finance report.
So we have both December and January. So I will make a motion to accept the December cash flow statements and the December bills and checks, the check details.
Okay, second, all those in favor?
Aye. And I will make a motion to accept the January cash flow and the check detail statements.
Okay. Second on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
The audit committee,
So, we're in the process of having our 2024 audit completed by BST, and I will email that out. I usually email out to the entire board. I'll schedule a quick meeting with the audit committee. Everything is pretty much status quo, no findings. But I'll finish that up and get that out. And then only one other item I need to add to this part of the agenda is, because we received ARPA money from the county, which was just a blow through, we have to do a single audit for the federal money. And that quote is $7,500, so I have to add that to our budget.
So that's the single audit for the ARPA money for the CARO project that we advanced, that we managed, if you will, on behalf of the county.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the expense for the single audit for the ARPA funds.
I need a second for that. Those in favor?
Aye.
Just going through the executive director report, I listed for you, just for your benefit, the pilot projects that we're tracking. I'm not gonna go through them individually, but if you have any questions on any of the pilots that we're doing, these are them. And I will have them also in the annual report. I emailed out the data center report.
Yes.
I'll have more on that in March. Eric and I will be setting up meetings to meet with Athens General Master Plan. There's a couple other parcels in there. Obviously, the parcel that is the best location would be working with Athens Gen. They have the water, they have electricity, backup. So I also asked.
We just don't know what's in their master plan.
Right, correct. So Global Hickey also put in, what other projects might be good for the other couple sites that we were looking at. I'm working with the state on getting other leads for those parcels.
And all the other, I mean, to me, it looked like all the other sites could be the data center, but the best, which is not surprised, is the best alignment is in Athens.
So we'll have more on that. If you want a hard copy, let me know, but I did email it out, so you could have to make copies of that. Moving on to the parks, our Gateway Green Commercial Park, Catskill Lodging has gone back to the planning board. They got a 3-page document back from Delaware Engineering, working through different site issues, not really issues, just site hoops that they had to jump through to get their plan approved. The most recent was the safety of the sidewalk crossing from Stewart's to the hotel, because at the end of the road, it just sort of stubs off. So now they're adding a crosswalk between Stewart's and the hotel. Just been moving forward with them. I can invite John Joseph in if anybody has any questions for the hotel. I've been in touch with Eric that we received a phone call that there's some concern that there's not a hotel project. I just want to reassure the board that there is a hotel project. We have a contract signed. There's public minutes with the planning board. Renee and I and Eric have been meeting with DEC on getting that final permit in place. So.
Which you want to talk about the phone call too?
We can.
We had a phone call conference call. You weren't on that call.
No, he was.
I'm interested in hearing more.
With Jamie and his boss. I don't know, I can't remember his name.
Oh, John.
Yeah, okay. So I thought overall, just to give a
You
summary,
said Jamie and John are
They're with
DEC.
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 this is our choke point for getting the, so overall, I thought the call went well. Different tone and tenor, with a supervisor in the room, so to speak. I can only listen to it, I couldn't see it. I think Renee laid out all our points, gave the whole evolution of this project with the county taking everything. I think his strongest point was that we could have put a pipe in the ground the day we got control of the property and put a pipe to nowhere, which is correct. And, you know, that scenario really hasn't changed, that it's still put a pipe in the ground. Relative to the grandfathering, things like grandfathering, the first question came out was, well, do you have anything in writing that says you're a grandfather? Well, the very creation of a sewer district and everything in it, you don't need a piece of paper saying, I'm also in it, when the district already says it's there, and it's I think things like the hotel, they're like, well, you have something that says it was included in it. Well, everything in the boundaries, and Keith, you might have some insight, everything in the boundaries when you create a district is in it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that structure is there and then taken down, it's still in, it's been accounted for. It's unimaginable to even account for a hotel in a sewer district. So I think we got them on those things at this point, and then of course the new hotel is gonna use less water, less flow than what was even accounted for, so Delaware is working on those numbers. I think they were also kicking over data on the original sewer district. Now, I don't know back to if they have a complete inventory of every single, or if they would do that, just I go back to boundaries and,
Well, Delaware should know what the usage was, because we've been stating that it's a
or their
similar size hotel.
their projected usage, right? They probably
Right.
came with the projected usage.
We knew
of-
what was gonna be there.
Yes,
So we said, we'll wait, we'll hook up when we get the new hotel.
Probably, I think that would have been part of that original planning. I mean, no way they didn't have a flow rate.
and then really you gotta
Yeah,
go
when
back
there'd be
to,
numbers from the original hotel, yeah, you
well,
just gotta go back.
and then I go back to, whether you did or did not really doesn't matter. You create, whoever created this problem, we were in it. And whether you factored that math in or not, that was your job to do, but it doesn't, I always go back to this individual house. Well, if you had a house, never hooked it up, and then wanted to later, and they're like, well, we didn't figure, that's your problem. We're in it, we're paying for it, and so I think we have strong arguments there. And just, I think with the data now, we'll just see what they can pick apart from the data, but I mean.
What the hell are they doing?
Yeah, I
It's
go,
total incompetence.
well, I go back to, in my mind, we could dig the ditch today and put a pipe there and let them stop this thing and do whatever, and we'll see you in court, and then we're gonna pull this out and we're going ahead.
Yeah, but the next project.
Oh, yeah, well, could they be any worse than this?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
so, that's really, how could it be worse? Cause
What is the difference?
they're completely
We, as a
unreasonable.
resolution, and I also brought up the fact that I am trying to market for a restaurant right next door, so that'll be the next project. Yes, the village and the town are very good with they're getting 22 million in grants and things like that to complete separations. So that'll get me, or buy me time, I guess, to market the 60 acres, which, kind of put on the back burner.
Right.
That whole area is popping right now. So Stewart's looks wonderful. We completed the road this year or last year. Central Hudson, the lines are in. Tourism Center is like built, they're working on the interior now. I was at the last meeting, they were picking up, the final tiles and talking about the lights being installed. So that is moving along quickly. Further down the road, Beljar, they placed their diner car, so that's gonna be a bar and a farm market right across from Camptown, so that whole area is gonna be cleaned up. I'm pretty excited about the whole entryway into.
I guess the question we're gonna have to ask ourselves at a certain point is that, well, I don't believe they'll say no, because they kind of have to say, they're like, oh, you just have to wait till like 2030 or whenever
Right.
the thing is done. We may come to a crossroads of, do we go the ugly tactic here and just say, oh, we're going, hey, we're going to stop
Well, there
us,
is
or,
some mitigation that is happening now, so that'll free up some capacity, is what
Mm-hmm.
Jamie's concern was. No, I don't think that the IDA should, pick up the whole 500,000 to put in these temporary holding tanks that would be obsolete within a couple of years.
Right.
So. if
Well,
it was
I
like
go back to,
100,000
what if we just put a pipe in the ground, so we'll stay in court and spend 500,000 on litigating this, and,
Yeah,
because we might be able to get away with 100 in court, with it, if we can strongly and feel confident about the grandfathering scenario.
what's Paul's opinion on it?
But we haven't really got it yet, he wasn't on the call, was he yet? So we gotta go back to him and see.
Yeah,
This, I think if we can compel him with the right data, we may, because to me, I sensed a softening tone in the meeting.
Yes, I like working together.
won't
idea.
the
Oh,
restaurant
absolutely, yeah.
become a real problem though? Because
What's
the
that?
restaurant's technically not grandfathered.
Well, that's where.
So that's
No,
where
no,
we're
it
going
should
back.
be, the whole thing should be grandfathered in, that acreage included
Oh,
an
that's right.
84-room
Mm.
hotel and a 200-seat restaurant.
There
That's the
was a
quality,
restaurant
there was a
there
restaurant.
originally?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Was it
It was
was
a-
operational?
There was one already factored in,
Oh,
well, it
so
was
that
in
would
Quite a
the,
while ago.
That would be part of the data.
It was all part of
Sorry,
it.
what?
I think that's quite a while ago, and not one you've gone to.
Yeah.
and we have,
Lizard Lounge, right?
we got data from their
It was
new,
lovely weddings.
new hotel, the new construction, they have pretty accurate data of what the flow is from the new buildings, which is much less, so between that and the restaurant, that's right. we
Who
have
can dig up the old data on the restaurant, hotel, the real numbers that they have?
It has to be
before?
part of the sewer district application,
Yeah.
so I'm sure Delaware Engineering has it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Was the
Delaware
sewer
Engineering has it.
district set up after the hotel was taken down?
No, around the same time, because we started demolition in 2018-19. We got the Restore New York grant, the sewer district sort of started right around 2017.
See what you're getting at, that it wasn't gonna be included, because,
No,
Well,
it was
I-
definitely included.
Yeah,
I think that Delaware's gotta have the numbers.
because of the
So
site,
I'd be
I
very
can't
surprised
imagine.
if they don't.
yeah, because that, if I was Paul, I'd wanna see those numbers, make that comparison.
Yep.
And if we're well within a comfortable zone, my feeling is move forward and
Well,
fight it later.
I think the data for the water flow show we're fine with the, like I said, that we have capacity. It's, the question is that, was it included or not? If it's included, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
But how is it not included? I guess that's the
Yeah,
question.
but
How
yeah, how
how
would
could
it
they
not?
possibly exclude that?
Well, and knowing that
They
it
couldn't
was,
just set
even
up
if the
sewer
building was
district,
taken
it would
down,
be
it
banned.
was taken
Yeah.
down for redevelopment.
Exactly.
So, but let's advance this thinking further down the road. If we're gonna have trouble like we are now with the hotel and
But they asked for
the restaurants next,
Yeah.
anything on the 60 acres is gonna
Oh,
follow that.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
is there a design that costs us $500,000 for temporary tanks that could be useful in future usage? In other words, if, in order to get us down the road, that it could be the restaurant connected into it after the hotel is,
Yeah,
the next thing, and then maybe some of the 60 acres connected into it.
I suppose it could be, but I mean, for the way I look at it, spending that $500,000, I'd rather do that at the 60 if we had to at that point, we had somebody in front of us.
Yeah.
Versus, because we don't know what that is,
Right.
what could potentially be there.
Seeing how slow development occurs, we were thinking that the hotel would be hooked up sort of right around the time that a lot of this mitigation had been done.
All right,
Then it got pushed off to 2030. The town and the village with Delaware and their work. I don't know why it got pushed out to 2030, but that was Jamie's last date.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Now,
a
is
lot of
it
mitigation.
hyper completion by 2030?
well,
That
that's
should be fine
probably
too,
correct,
so-
and that's where, we get this thing done, that's 60 months, right? It sounds like a long way away, but 60 months, your minimum, if we had a client for that 60 acres, you're probably 24 months today, if we had somebody in front of us, so we might be close
To the 60 months.
after we get this thing done, yeah, even though I wish it was faster, that's just seems to be the reality.
Quite frankly, I think that could be we might be lucky with 60 months.
You're right. Yep, you're right. That would be great if that was if we had something done and ready to be connected. That's what we're talking about, connected, because construction could be 12 months or
At least.
18 months. So, or whatever it is, so.
But this gets to why we're talking about this, is the process is what's eating up the time.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah,
Not the
absolutely.
development
Yeah.
part of
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
No,
and so.
it's actually not the actual construction.
Right,
to
it's
get
all,
to-
so the completion for the town and the village, the town for 5 years, why? What's pushed out their timeline?
Getting started. They should have already been doing some of the.
Started, they need
construction.
more, I didn't really get a clear answer on, or why that was
Yeah,
pushed
why
back.
it's pushed back.
But it does sound like some process, I think Keith's correct that that's a completion date or projected done date, not a start date, that's a.
Oh, right,
Approval,
right,
100%.
completion, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on that. Yeah, so I think it went as well as it could, the conversation, nobody had to get ugly or really start throwing anybody under the bus yet, so we'll just see what happens, you know.
Did they give you an indication of time frame now, or?
I mean, we were really just next steps of like, we're gonna
Right, so I'll be
submit
setting
you
up
the
another
data.
call coming up.
Yeah.
I just have to get those 2 reports over to them to review.
Now, as soon as we get that to them and there's a reasonable time, a couple days or 5 days past, I think we gotta be right back on a phone call. Probably my recommendation is we get back on a phone call with everybody that was there last time and get Paul in this time too, to start throwing some legalese at them.
Okay.
Of, now you've been provided with the data, and to press them of, we want to start looking up tomorrow. Like really press them, once the information has been provided, to not give them time to sit on, lay an egg for 6 more months,
Okay.
as much as we can.
And I'll call the planning board and find out, how far along the hotel is.
Yeah.
In their process.
Yeah.
So Keith, as a liaison to the legislature, I know you weren't there last board meeting and probably would have been in the executive session, but I think there was some concern from a legislator that there is no hotel project.
The legislator said that.
That we're lying about it.
That, yes,
Yes.
You know,
Fabricated.
Yes.
It was the whole board.
all right, so it was,
You can talk to
a
Sean.
regular meeting?
But it was in executive session that got brought up. And then the concern came to me, which I reassured Sean, we've been working on this, I've been working on it since 2017 with Renee. Yes, COVID happened.
No one has said anything to me.
Okay.
And, I was with them all just 2 nights ago.
Okay. So maybe I alleviated the question or the concerns. I sent them over the site plans from the planning board, which are all public minutes, they can see what they've been doing at the planning board stage, so.
I'll keep it. And my inquiring mind will find out more.
Okay. So any other questions on the hotel or DEC or, okay, in that area, like I said, there's a lot of activity going on down there right now. And Stewart's is doing very well.
I bet they are, yeah.
So back up here, Greene Business Park, I met with Economic Development Corp. With a company, and the state is also involved in this too. They sent out a lead, Project Wheatfield or something, but the odd shaped parcel, 27 acres in our business park that I had an option with the cannabis company. The option expired, the state has not moved forward at opening up tier 3 and 4, so I've sort of started accepting other interest in this parcel. I let the cannabis company know that we had interest. This company does straw, instead of hemp-based products, it's straw-based housing products, building products, which I can send you the link. But there's 3 different companies involved in it.
It's
Thatch
straw-based
roofs.
building products,
Straw-based.
so they're compressing straw and some kind of brick,
Some kind of,
wood type of
yeah.
thing. I've seen some of that stuff around,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Insulation,
Yeah.
straw.
So there's I guess a very high demand for it. There's no United States base for it right now, so they're looking at setting up.
That'd be a New York
10,000.
subsidized type of thing, like the hemp farmers.
Yep.
That's a wheat-based,
Right, so he,
nobody
usually
throws
he
meat around.
It's very hard.
develops a product on the site and builds like houses, there's different plans and things like that, but
Yeah,
he needs a place where he can build ahead of time and then set up on site. So right now, they're working through the state, EDC, some grants and things like that. I don't know if they would be interested in IDA benefits. They have to look at the application, things like that. Right now, it's just interested in the parcel and subdividing it into 3. So towards the back of that parcel, there is an easement line, which I sent on the survey and things like that. So we were asking like 50,000 an acre. If I subdivide it into 3, we'll just maybe do lump sum amounts on each parcel, but it would be nice to sell that.
I didn't 3 for them.
Right, so no, it's 3 companies that are following the first company. So they're all this structure.
These
Supply
are
chain
support
or
companies
something.
for the
Yeah,
other
supply chain,
company?
yeah.
They're currently manufactured in Europe.
Mhm.
And is it a panel?
It's a
Yep.
panel
Yeah.
They get
system,
into like a panel.
you know, very thick.
Big wall panels, yeah.
And supposedly, believe it or not, fire resistant,
Yeah, depends on what they,
you know, the way it's
Yeah.
packed, there's
what they
no,
glue it all together with.
there's no air.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously, the fire requires air and fuel and so the air elimination is the way it winds up being fire resistant. It's so compact.
Like concrete on the lake.
Mhm.
But it's much thicker wall systems. I'll go back to, I've got some notes on this too.
Yeah, so I'll send you the links for this particular company and the lead from the state.
Yeah.
That they're trying to place them.
Did they have any kind of like water requirements? Because I would imagine that process used a lot of water. I would think.
But I'll send the links.
Some kind of an adhesive and a giant press.
Yeah, yeah.
We also have interest in the 4.21 acres in Kalkberg. Tractor Supply's come back around, so I've thrown out a price for them. I'd like to see them there.
Yeah.
Keep you updated
Yeah,
on
the
that.
one in
That
front of
rolls
Serta.
through. What is
That's
it?
the one in front of Serta.
Yeah, Empire Merchants North, the smaller one. So the 14 acres is still available.
Gotcha.
Which,
One on the right hand side.
yeah, I'm working with James on another company for that site. But it's, everybody has interest.
Yeah.
So they put the shovel in the ground.
So April, with us sitting down with Athens Jen, do we have a meeting pending or we're waiting to hear from them?
We're waiting to hear from them, but I will reach out to Steve Paul again.
And then with, our consultants there, where are we at with them as far as the next steps for them to do?
For battery storage or data center?
Data center, yeah.
Well, this is the final report.
Okay,
So as we read through this, I'm thinking Athens Gen, but if we wanted to invest money in the other sites, what would we?
yeah, I guess
What
more
would
what I'm
the state, that
thinking
kind of
is, even prior leading up to Athens Gen is if we have some more specific, I know there's a little bit of power requirements in there, but do they have any experience crafting these deals next step is what I'm
Okay.
saying. Here's where you need to be at power supply price wise. Here, in this industry, this is what they're looking for is, price per kilowatt or however they're doing it. Because when we get to Athens Gen, that's likely what they're gonna come back at us is, all right, well, what can we sell power to them for? What is the industry on this expectation wise? Cause if we have that going in, it's hard to make a deal without knowing what some of our costs and parameters are gonna be, or a package, so to speak of, we've got this many acres, this is the price per kilowatt, this is our connectivity, and, I know they talked about some of that in the report, but not down to, because that's what's gonna help drive this deal.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought the report was kind of thin.
I thought so too. I mean, it was very on the surface. I wasn't, wowed by, we obviously, there needs to be a next step here and hopefully they can give us a next step.
I even thought the educational component to, just to throw Columbia Green in there, who has no curriculum whatsoever in that style now.
Yeah.
I thought even a better approach on that would have been, what local schools are providing that already.
Right.
Because chances are Hudson Valley does have it.
Yeah, and of course, the Nano College at SUNY is the
Right.
place. I always look at some of these things like this of, okay, is that really a component to building this, or what's really gonna drive it? It's gonna be the price, the look at, all that. Everything's gonna come in after the fact, kind of like Global Foundries did. They had a deal, then other stuff started coming in to fill that need afterwards. As we know, workforce, we can't fill it here locally to begin with, so it's gonna have to come in, but it's gonna come in based on whatever this thing is. I mean, I do know, and some of the reading I've done is this industry is going to explode exponentially in the next 5-10 years, driven by the massive data requirements of the AI stuff. It's just a hungry beast that will need. So the further steps we get along, I think that helps us, because the people who are building these, they want to move fast, and they're going to probably move into places that they can move the quickest. But even just as simple as, well, the data centers aren't affected by tariffs as much, but the incentivizing of building things here versus other places, it's gonna be a 1-2 step component.
No, so don't you think the data centers, depends on where they're gonna get the chips?
Well, they're gonna get
I mean,
they're gonna get them from here, but that's that's an only incremental thing in the consumption of the data is what.
I mean, the thing that I thought about that, I also thought the report was pretty surface.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised, in large part, because I think that it would be far more helpful to understand, where New Athens Gen thinks that they want to go, because to me, as you kind of watch this whole discussion in the world going on around energy.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's such a thing as kind of modularized data centers for use by the hospital, the college, the county, and creating like your own little utility. Like if there was a business model that could say that you may not need to be huge, but this could be functional because everybody is using AI.
Yeah.
They could use it exponentially more if they could actually get there and it was affordable, right? From an energy point of view.
Well, that's what's gonna drive it, is that energy,
Right.
cost per kilowatt.
That's right.
That's what's gonna drive it. And then, I think our proximity to the city is not unimportant. I mean, data moves at the speed of light, but believe it or not, proximity to high usage is, they can't build giant data centers in New York City. There's no space for it. So if you look at New York City out as like a hub, we're probably gonna be a hub for their data centers. That everything in that city is gonna run on, they're consuming whatever right now in data. It's probably gonna go up 3, 4, 5, 10-fold in the coming years as everything is gonna become already it's been, but it's gonna be your smart devices are gonna become smarter. Your car is gonna be driving themselves and gonna suck up that data big time. To be able to do that, it has to come from somewhere. Power and data are almost gonna be like,
Right. But the frustration would be that you build it, you incentivize it, and you can't tap into the value of it, right, for the county purposes. So I agree.
Yeah.
We already are at crossroads for
Our-
power for
Our
town and
value
state.
is gonna be what it always is, just getting some land, producing a little more revenue than it is right now. Maybe jobs secondary.
Right, yeah, because I
some-
don't think they're huge job places.
No, there's hardly anybody
They're
working,
right.
no.
But it is in the construction, it's not like
Value add, yeah.
Athens New Gym, but I do think that if I keep on coming back to thinking about how we also bring value. We've got two values, right? Putting that land back in production, making the best use, but since they'll be using the water and all those sorts of energies, figuring out if there isn't a way to kind of help lower the overall cost for everybody around who's using that sort of stuff. I would think especially in the hospital. People don't realize how much of a data suck they are, and how much more efficiency, right, that they could achieve by.
And then the energy demand is the other thing, because as all this stuff starts heating up, that plant's gonna be where they were, was operating like a peaker plant before. Likely, they're gonna be running full, which the guys who bought it know.
That's why they bought it.
Yeah, so then there's gonna be a competition of who gets to. So they may not be too inclined to go with.
I know, well, that's just it, they've got their own business.
Right.
I don't know, we're gonna find out.
I know.
Yeah.
Or maybe we think about different incentives as opposed to, I'm a curmudgeon when I think back when Athens Gen came in and what the village and the town negotiated and what they thought were big victories.
Mm.
And yet the
Yeah.
village has no natural gas.
Yep.
You know, like the very basics
Oh, sure.
that might have
Yeah.
been a way to,
Yeah,
you know, to think
Infrastructure
about
type thing, sure.
infrastructure,
Yeah.
you know.
And, I just look at this as anytime in county, we have to go be what we can be. This is something we can be, this is something we can do. We actually match up to, being able to provide them, at least at that site, the things that are critical for it. Just like, distribution centers, that's something we can do.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, but it actually is what we can be.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. And then sometimes when you get one, it's not unlikely you can create another. Those other two sites are not impossibilities for it. They're missing the water component, but there are other ways they cool this thing. And, but it does have the power connectivity, which is all along through our corridor, which is gonna be helpful.
Yeah.
So I guess just next steps, we'll just, I think we gotta get a little more information from them on, parameters of pricing of power. And, that can set up going into a meeting with Athens Gen a little better of, this is where we think you need to be.
Got it. Who knows? Anything else going on we should focus on?
Yeah, I gotta bring something in. I don't know if anyone's aware, but the hospital has made a presentation to the legislature to expand services in Catskill at the old hospital facility.
Okay.
20+ million investment. The back section, the old hospital, the operating rooms, all that.
Yeah.
In theory would be redone, adding about 7,500 square feet of space to the front of the building, and having an ambulatory surgery center. I'm hearing names like capital cardiology, bone and joint center, for services to be provided out of Catskill. I believe there's going to be and has been an ask of the legislature. It is under consideration. I'm anticipating that if we haven't heard from them yet, that there may be certain benefits that this board can provide to help them with their sales tax. I don't know about mortgage tax, but sales tax and.
Do they own that building?
Columbia Memorial, I believe, does.
Owns the building. I mean, they lease out the spaces, like there's doctor's offices there now, there's,
Right.
Okay.
Right, I believe, but Columbia Memorial is the owner of the space, but, with that, we're, it's not my hat, but the legislature is trying to determine how much private equity is in there. That is it a public project, or to what degree it is? And then obviously the benefit is recognizable pretty quickly. But what monies are coming in from those private companies that will be occupying that space? What portion of that money?
Is that space getting
Yeah.
used now, Keith, or is it kind of not being used back?
I don't believe that space in the very back is being used.
Yeah.
I knew there was some vacant space 3 years ago, we were in it, some work.
And this is, my understanding, this is redoing the old operating rooms and everything
Yeah, okay, all right.
into a facility.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Going back to where we started our meeting, so where are they in a certificate of need?
Not there.
Not even started. And would they do it under Albany Med certificate, how would they?
Good question. We're trying to figure out how exactly that relationship is gonna play out.
What's a certificate of need, then?
That's the Department of Health approving all, not just the expenditures, but the expansion plan. So they review,
Okay,
they review for competition, for feasibility,
Okay.
for all sorts of reasons, just like a DEC does for water and sewer. And they would also, because they will be consuming water, there'll be all that layer. And
so
then
they
there'll
have
be
to put their blessing on it, basically.
more than a blessing. I
Before
mean,
you
they will
even-
be looking at the financing, because undoubtedly they'll be going in for financing. The state will easily, some degree of financing will come from the state, whether it's bonds, to your point about private equity, you know, and the degree to which, you know, lower interest rates on the expense and all of that sort of stuff. But that's a process,
Okay.
like the certificate of need process could be 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you tie in with somebody.
No.
Even tying in?
It's,
Even though it's an existing
In
operating
house.
place, they
oh,
have to.
no, everybody, I mean, all the hospitals, right? So if you look, you know, NYU announced that it's putting an $18 million cardiac suite into Lenox Hill. Right, and that process has easily been 2 years in the process, you know. So because they're looking at the construction, they're looking at the standards, they're looking kind of at staffing, and I would imagine for Columbia, because I know nothing about their financials, but that's why I asked about the Albany Med, if they're operating under that umbrella.
I personally am not sure exactly how that, you know, are they just the managers of Plummer Memorial, or is there an interest financially, equity-wise? I don't know
Yeah.
those answers.
It's pretty early, yeah. But
It is
they're-
very,
yeah.
they've
Right.
only given one presentation.
Yeah.
I happen to be away for it, so I'm, you know, basically just looking at notes and just, you know, after discussions.
But
So,
what you're saying makes a fair amount of sense. Both of those types of practices, they have practices right up the road from there,
Right.
both of them, both the heart and the bone and joint. And AmSurge is where that stuff has moved forever, right?
Right.
You know, where you used to be in the hospital
Yep.
10 days for a hip, you're, depending on your hip, you could be in and out.
yeah,
Right.
you're at
Yeah.
that facility up
Yeah.
there on, was it Washington? I think they have an expanded bone and joint center there.
Yeah.
The bone and joint and the old hospital on Hackett Boulevard, I can't remember the name, wasn't Child, whatever that was, all of that they have in and out. There's-
It was shop.
So, I mean, the model makes sense.
Yeah.
The private equity is an interesting time for interesting conversations.
Well, and that's where I think the county's gotta look and say, you know, are we putting taxpayer money into a private equity project, or is it, are we putting taxpayer money into a public, non-for-profit
Yeah.
hospital?
Yeah.
And I think it's a combination of the two.
Well, and virtually every hospital, I'm trying to think if there's any hospital in the state of New York that's for profit. I mean, there's been walls up on that forever. That does not mean that they don't make a profit, right? But, and it's the practices. It's that relationship between the practices and the professionals and the umbrella organization, like you're renting the suite or how that works.
Right.
So I think it's
There
a
will
lot
be private
embedded
equity money in
that.
it, period. I mean, to me, you just have to accept that, you know, as where stuff has
Normal
gone,
time.
right.
So I think we should have it on our radar to, if the county jumps in, then I think if there's an opportunity for us to jump in with benefits, I think we should.
Are they on the tax roll? Would they be on the tax roll?
Well, that's actually a very different conversation. That's why you have to figure out the AmSurge Center itself, that's why I asked who owns the property and how they're going to kind of do it. But even if they don't, there's a lot of, I would say around the state from my armchair observation, there's a lot of IDA projects that have invested, you know, in medical sorts of things.
In multi-funded sources.
Yeah. There will be state money, there will be, you know, the state has a whole thing that figures into capital, you know, construction like this. There's all the Medicaid rates have a capital component to them, that kind of offset that. So it's gonna be a lot of different funding sources if they proceed.
And I think we have a lot more to see before we,
Yeah.
you know
Still a
those
little
things.
ways, yeah, okay.
The other thing is, my understanding is the county has made contact with some of the cement plants.
Oh, that's great.
So I think, Eric and
James
Cole
is
should reach out to James, to have a
Okay.
discussion.
Yeah, set up a call or
Because
whatever.
if they've gotten through to somebody where, as you know, we've had difficulty.
Yeah.
There may be an opportunity there.
It's a start,
You know, with our prior discussions and interested parties, and,
sure.
you know, if they've actually got an open line to them now, you know, they got
Yeah.
that phone going.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Yeah.
could see
There was
something.
another bridge going down the river the other day,
Yeah.
another component of a
Yeah.
bridge going to Jersey.
Yeah, did you see up at the Port of Cleveland's there, I think there was the other day, 500 trucks lined up for salt.
Yeah.
500. They were wrapped right
All
around.
over the state.
Oh, yeah, that's you know, so, That's good if we got somebody to actually talk to us. That's a really important first start.
My son says to me with the, a 3-yard hopper on the back of his truck, he goes,
Oh, yeah.
you think they would load me up there? I said, nah. I think they got bigger fish.
Well, we actually set a truck up there, a little dump trailer, and somebody that works for us now knows somebody up there, and we were able to jump the line. And there was some shaking of fists, and they went in, they dumped a little in, and they were right out. We got an account with those guys forever, so, sorry, we didn't pay for it, but, we were able to skip the line because he knew somebody running a loader. And I'm like, you guys lucky you didn't get a brick thrown at you. Those poor guys in those trucks have been sitting there all day.
The best part is when you have to commute to Albany, and you gotta go up that way, and you
I
have
know.
100
Oh, yeah.
dump trucks going up the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luckily for him, Calaruso was also in line,
Yeah.
so.
Should be able to
that's
do
what he's
that,
in line.
you know, in the middle of the night when, it's not during commuter time.
Yeah. Yeah, be prepared, right? Well, that's good. Anyway, so maybe talk to James and just see if there was anything.
Yeah, I can do a follow-up. We had a big Zoom conference call, Paul Goldman, Ed Kaplan, everybody about the cement plants and stuff like that, so we'll find out what next steps are.
Yeah, 'cause I think originally the county was gonna send a letter, right? It was like that, and maybe.
Right, so James made the
Maybe this is where we
contact
got
and he
the
got
phone call
everybody on board of like what's going on.
Because then the next thing is to find out who
He
or where
also-
these guys are. And
James was doing some underwriting and grants and things like that, so that would be like the initial step of what can we do there?
Yep.
What are the plans?
I was just excited to hear that somebody picked up. the phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's-
James is a little tenacious, he's got a lot of
That's-
energy,
boy, do we need that down there.
Right.
That's really good, yeah.
great counter.
And that's what it required, was just somebody to get, I know you could get them somewhere. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you gotta find out where the guy is exercising in the morning and go stalk him at the gym, be like, hey. Sometimes that's what it takes, but, it's great, so we'll see where it goes. All right, anybody have anything else?
No.
Okay, so I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor? You've got your paperwork.
Who's signing?
The minutes.
Oh, the minute.
Yeah.
Am I the secretary today?